Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tab Solutions, something or other, blah, 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 blah. You get the idea. We're here to talk about things. And what better thing to talk about than, I don't know, being good at what you do doesn't mean that that's good enough anymore.
You're right. You're right. You got to do a lot more, especially in the digital presence world of 2026. You got to be able to breathe fire, juggle, and do a lot more, right, Joe?
Absolutely. Well, that's what it feels like for a lot of people who feel like it's kind of a circus to deal with all of the nonsense that's out there on all the complications necessary to be visible, and all that wonderful stuff. And look, let's just be upfront about this, right? There are amazing, awesome, great businesses out there that have amazing craftsmanship and amazing products. Guess what? Completely and utterly ignored. And I think one client we had, Sean, even mentioned just the other day that as far as an organization standard, like a management standard goes,
Yep.
uh, they're good. They feel that they're doing fantastic. But as far as being seen and have the word getting out there, they're not getting the calls they need. They're not getting out there.
Right. I mean, visibility is the key, and I think the problem is with today's society is we're so focused on seen on social media, but we don't want to be a part of it. And that includes me. I'll be the first one to tell you it's not fun getting on screen, but if you want to be noticed, you got to be on it. You got to be willing to take the plunge and put the phone to your face and start posting, start letting people know that you exist, right?
That's right.
I'll use one example. So there's a couple of artists that I know that they do great work with sculptures and acrylic paintings and the whole nine yards, but they don't get to be seen, right? Because they don't post online. They don't post consistent, like Joe always talks about. It's about being consistent.
Yeah.
It's just you have to be consistent and you have to be willing to put yourself out there. And in a way, you are also being vulnerable, right, Joe?
Well, absolutely. In fact, you have to be vulnerable. You know, uh, Part of the challenge I think a lot of people face when it comes to this is they want to focus on what they view as the most important thing, and that is correct. They should, because at the end of the day, the goal is to make sure that you're doing the best job you possibly can with the services or products that you provide. That has not changed, but what has changed is how people come to experience or see you, to find you, and that no longer is it enough to just show up at the market square and people all of a sudden go, "Oh my gosh, you're here," and start purchasing from you. Now there's just so much noise out there. It's impossible to break through unless you figure out how to break through.
Well, I think one of the biggest pieces or the biggest takeaways that I see is I want to see genuine. I want you to be genuine. I want you to be warm. I want you to be yourself. I don't want you to be a script. I don't want you to be something you're not. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we're at the stage in 2026 where we've seen enough footage. We've seen enough that we know what is real, what's not real, what's fake, well, I don't know. You get the idea. But the
I
bottom
mean,
line, yeah,
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 it just depends. Because I mean, I know AI is throwing wrenches in that
right,
right
right.
now,
Well, and
but
it's a good
yeah,
opportunity to shine, as an individual.
100%. And I think this is what it boils down to is what we're trying to get at, guys. Is it's the shift that nobody's really wanting to talk about. They're all kind of hoping, I think, that it's not true, and that is that there kind of used to be a time where being good eventually got you noticed. Now that being said, I think we can all agree that there is a caveat to that. Well, that's the music industry and the in the movie industry. That's a different ball game than we're talking about here.
Oh,
But
you're talking about shock and awe.
yeah, well, that is different. I mean, again, with those industries, it's about who you know. It's not about what you know or how good you are. In fact, but in most industries, like carpenter, if you're a good carpenter, eventually you were found, right? That's not how that works anymore, right? Now the internet kind of decides for you before you even ever get met, and people ever even meet you, right? That is what we're starting to see.
Right.
So, Sean, how do you how do you think customer decision making has moved online? Like, what is that? Like, how about this? How are people deciding online?
Well, look, I think it's no longer you type in, for example, carpet cleaning, and someone looks up and says, "Oh, you ranked number one. I'm just going to call you." Well, it's you got to be well rounded. You got to be a
Yeah,
well rounded person. They want to see your credibility. They want to see who you are, your profession, you being genuine. They want to see the whole thing. They want to get to know you. It's kind of like the way interviews used to be, Joe, back in the day, where you go in and it wasn't just about, okay, show me your background, show me what you could, what you've done, but tell me more about who you are, where you're going, and really what you want, right? It's
yeah.
that the warm piece behind it. So,
Well, what sucks is this: that there's this conundrum here at this point, right? Where just because somebody is ranked number one on the internet and Google and Facebook and all these wonderful people or things are ranking them high, doesn't mean they're the best for the job. It doesn't even mean that their services are the best. It's just they knew how to play the game, right? And I think that's where we're trying. What's really frustrating is you have a lot of really very talented people, very exquisitely detailed people at their craft who don't know how to play the game. So they stay invisible, and that's the problem. It's like, it's a double-edged sword. It's more convenient for people to be able to find people online. Yes. But it's also like almost more exclusionary in a way, because unless you know how to play the game, you're just not even looked at. There's no way for you to look at it because the basically, like, if I were to put it at scale, right? Like the way I to try to help people visualize this, because I'm losing a lot of words right now. It's like there's a person who has everybody thinks that everybody has the same size trumpet, okay, in a group. But the reality is that if you know how the right people, you can get them to make you a ridiculously huge trumpet that dwarfs everybody else's, and no one can hear anybody else but your trumpet, even though you're blaring as hard as you can. It's about making sure that you too can have the giant trumpet. And that's how you win, is by making it so people understand how to play the game.
I was sitting here and I could visually see you, wiping down your brass trumpet and
Yes.
getting it prepared for that. Well, clearly I've never played a trumpet before, and it's hard to relate to that one, but I understand what you're saying.
But noise. It's
No, absolutely.
louder.
Well, it's just like you work for a company and you want to be able to, you want to climb corporate ladder. The ones that are willing to volunteer, the ones that are willing to voice their opinion and go above and beyond, are the ones that get seen. And I think it's in stage that should be looked at whenever it comes to social media. If you really want to be seen, you have to be consistent. You have to keep putting yourself out there. And it goes back to domain authority. The older your stuff is, the longer you've been, you're the OG, right? You're the one with that trumpet. So,
well, and I think that lends itself to what you describe. Kind of lends itself to what we're about to discuss next. And I think that's if we had to pin it, probably it would be that right now people are less interested at first about discovering if you have the skill.
yeah,
I think they view it as an implication that you do. They're more interested in confidence, the confidence signals, and I think you described some of those as well. Did you go a little further into that?
well, having confidence.
Like what confidence signals?
Well, I think
what is that?
Well, I think in general, whenever when you demonstrate as a subject matter expert in your particular field, you demonstrate that level of confidence, and those that are willing to be able to be vocal, that are able to articulate, that are able to stand up and speak and demonstrate whatever they're doing and show it to the world are the ones that are going to be heard. Those are the ones that have the trumpet. Those are the ones that have the loud microphone. And those are the ones that are going to be heard. And, I had a discussion with a gentleman that called me yesterday. I haven't had a chance to tell you, Joe, and I'll keep it private so people don't know. But person called me. It's someone that I worked with before. He goes, "Hey, I received one of your newsletters about pay per clicks and CPCs and so forth, and and then I got hit on social media with one of your videos. You're everywhere." It's exactly what he said. He says, "As a matter of fact, I have business for you, and I'm going to send you an email with some information and so forth." But where I'm getting at is it's about being top of mind. They say it takes about 7 times for a brand to be seen before people decide to buy, for the consumer to decide to buy. And once again, you got to constantly be out there. And I think by showing or demonstrating, by discussing, by willing to give your opinion, and I know in today's society and everything else, everybody's got an opinion. That hasn't changed, but you have to put yourself out there. And I think that's what's really going to be able to help demonstrate that level of confidence. Do things. I mean, it's be on podcasts, do videos, do
Yeah.
social media, go out there and network. Hey, go out there and network. Matter of fact, after this, we're doing a networking event online, and we're going to have a ton of different business owners. And guess what? They have no clue what's coming at them, right? But
No.
you got to join. You got to do it. So
Get up there and just get started, and I think rip off that band-aid. I know it's easier said than done for some folks,
sure.
but hey, is what it is. Now, so we've got that
Did I
yes,
answer your
quality.
question, Joe? Did I answer?
You did.
Okay,
You
want to
did.
make sure.
Quality alone doesn't guarantee visibility more. We've got that.
Yep.
We've got that you don't really get a chance to prove you're good if people never find you. Right. But then we have legitimacy. People assume visibility equals legitimacy. So we start seeing the problem, right, guys? I think that's the issue here, is that you can be great, you can be amazing at what you do, but unless you're visible, it doesn't matter, because everybody assumes that the person who's the most visible has earned that spot, not through playing the game, right, but through skill. And there is the problem. That is not how it works anymore, right? We've identified that. So that means, what do you do about it, right? Like, what should we do about it? And I think this is the heart of the issue. We need to take a mindful look at, not even mindful, we just need to change our mindset on this. Digital presence and all this stuff that we're talking about digital presence right now, guys, just to clarify. Okay. And it's really important that we clarify that. It's also important to clarify that digital presence is not marketing stuff. But people like to say it's marketing, I don't have to pay for it. Right? At first. That's something that I do when I have tons of money. No, it's not, by the way. But you always start marketing, but that's not what we're talking about here. Don't view your presence online as marketing. It is business infrastructure. It is like going and paying for a stand at the farmer's market. It's like going and getting a brick and mortar. Good news is it's usually cheaper than all of those things that I mentioned, minus the stand at the farmer's market, because that's probably, but then that's temporary, right? So the goal is, I want you to compare it to like these 4 things, right? Equipment, location, your staff, and your systems, like your computers, all that stuff. It's that. And that is why I think a lot of people get really tripped up, because they view it as marketing. We hear it time and time again, don't we, Sean?
We do.
It's marketing. What am I? How many people am I going to get through the door if I give this much per month? But that's not what it is.
No.
Right? It's like, yeah. Do you say the same thing when you pay rent to your landlord? is he supposed to be bringing people to your door? I mean, yes, because maybe somebody sees your store from the side of the road. Did your landlord bring that to you, or did your business sign? I mean, what was it exactly that brought them to your door from seeing it from the side of the road? In that way, yeah, then I guess you could probably even say that your actual brick and mortar store is a marketing stuff, but it's not, right?
Right. And I want to go a little deeper on this because I think the best way of also describing this goes back to the health and fitness place where, people say, I want to get healthier. I want to get healthier. I really want to get down to this. And so you sign up for the gym membership. The gym membership, you go in, you walk in, they greet you, they show you all the different equipment, right? Show you all the different stuff. They show you the staff, they show you all the coaches and everything else. And they say, okay, it's up to you. We can put you in a regimen, we can put you on a plan, but it's up to you. Once you leave those doors, you're on your own, right?
Mhm.
Those people are there to help guide you and move you in the right direction. And they can only help you when you want to be helped and when you're willing to put the time and effort directly into that. So, for example, you want to lose weight. Someone's going to say you need to eat carrots, you need healthy food. You say, like, I went direct with carrots, right? You have to eat healthy food. You got to do this. You got to eat this many times a day. You got to exercise. You got to do the whole 9 yards. But if you're not willing to put in the effort and then you go and say, hey, and you start being tracks, NYC, where he says, where's my, how come I'm not losing my weight? And you don't want to take responsibility. It's the same thing when it comes to whenever you hire a marketing agency. Whenever you're hiring an agency, we are not subject matter experts in your field. And I understand that people say, well, you need to be with a niche and so forth. But we're here to help you move you in the direction that you need to go to put you as the business owner and your team in that right direction. You need to start doing this. You need to start doing that. And we're here to help you that. And on top of that, there are tools to assist. So a lot of people say, Joe, well, I don't understand. Why do I got to have these tools? Why I got to do that? If you were legitimately trying to make a difference, you have to invest in tools.
Yeah.
And you have to use the tools. Right, Joe?
Oh yeah. Well, there's no point in buying a nice hammer if you're not going to actually use the hammer.
I swear that you said hamburger, not that I could go for a great,
That
nice
too.
hamburger. Right? Yes, yes.
Like, I mean, you're going to buy the hamburger and just let it sit there? No.
Right. No, you can eat it, right?
And I think
let's wrap.
with that in mind, like,
Right.
it's like, we're talking about a lot of people thinking that, like, yeah, I'm gonna get all these tools and I'm never going to use the tool. Why isn't it working? Shouldn't it just have worked when I paid for the tools? And yeah, no, that's not how it works. And let's also be very clear. Even when you have an agency that is there to help support you and they have a lot of the answers, but obviously they're not going to have the unique answers for, speaking of tools, Power Tools 9000, as a business name, literally like inside, say, the Sugarland area, and making sure that we have the secret, every single little facet known about how to make them successful. If that were the case, that business already exists, because the
Right.
only way we would know that is if we've done it all before. So
Right.
for Power Tools, what I'm saying? So in that location specifically, like, that's what I'm getting at. It has to be that dialed in. So
Right.
no, you have to participate, even if it is, let's just say what the elephant is in the room. Even if you're talking about ad spend, for, like, say, Google Ads or Facebook, right?
Right.
And a lot of people will say, well, what is it then you're talking about then? What's the difference between this digital presence stuff and ads? And it's like, well, the clear answer is that digital presence is, we're talking about, you're building something that allows you to be able to, grow it over time. And ads, well, look, ads are going to stop as soon as the budget is destroyed, like, it's gone.
Right.
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 Which one would you rather have?
I also, Joe, I want to mention this. What I find interesting, if you are a business owner, right?
Yeah.
Don't you want to take pride in what you've built,
What?
don't you want to show the world what you've built, the creation that you have? You know, it goes back to the whole piece of, you know, telling that story, you know?
Right. You know, I have another visualization I want to share. It's like all the stuff, telling the story, all these things to help build your ad presence or digital presence, I should say,
Right.
and versus like paying for ads. Well, let's think about it this way. Let's say you build your house literally out of cardboard, which is exactly how they build houses nowadays, but that's besides the point.
Do not
Right?
get me started.
Okay. So let's just talk about that, right?
Yeah.
And like how because they build it this way, you know, the houses just leak warm air. And let's say in the winter, you want to keep your house warm. Well, ads, we're going to say ad spend or paying for ads is just your warm air, right? And we're going to say your house is your digital presence. If your house is built out of literal paper, your ads, you're going to have to pay a lot of money in ads to keep that bitch warm. Forgive me. All right. You're going to have to. All right. But if you just lay a few bricks down, make a few brick walls, maybe put some wood paneling in, something to stop the linking, aka build out your digital presence with that. Okay. You won't have to spend as much time and money on ads to keep the place warm. That's actually how it works.
No, you're absolutely right. And I also, you know, there's one thing that we failed to mention from the negative aspect of it. So let's say that you do have a business and you don't really do any social media, no digital presence.
Yeah.
Well, it's public domain. You know, whenever you have a business, Yelp and other companies are going to start crawling and figure out that you exist and they're going to post you up. And that's a door for people to leave reviews for you. Now, let's just say you didn't do a good job. The probability of someone looking you up and wanting to leave a bad review is much higher. And
Oh,
imagine if you have no digital presence and the one digital presence you have is the Yelp and it's a negative 1-star review. That's the issue. That is a huge issue. But imagine if you had a digital presence where they know who you are, what you offer, your product, your services, you got great testimony, great reviews, and then you get hit with that one, you know, bad review,
yeah.
which we had a customer that just got a bad review and reached out to me. So that's what we do. We help address those issues too.
Yeah.
Um, but you want to be able to mitigate that because it's kind of like your credit score. That's really the best way of saying this. You're concerned about your credit score, and whenever you get a bad ding, you know, more bad things you get, you have to do more work to get out of that. But if you have really good, you know, statements and backgrounds and work that shows the work that you've been doing, that's going to outweigh that one negative piece. Same thing that you think about your credit score. It's the same thing when it comes to credibility online. And Google, Bing, major search engines are utilizing that. They want to see the bigger picture. And people believe that things happen. You know, people believe that, you know, there's a reason for everything happening, but there's got to be two sides of the story. That leads also into reputation, Joe, where when someone leaves you a review, regardless if it's positive or negative, you should respond to it. Let them know that you're happy with the review. Thank them for the review. And if they had a bad review, try to explain what was wrong, what they did wrong, or what you did, and own up to it. Let's just say that you were cooking food, you made the food, and the food wasn't good. It was cold, and the customer wasn't happy. Own up to it.
Yeah.
Right on there. Say, hey, I'm sorry that your order sucked. Come back, let's make it right. I guarantee you that any person that sees that would respect the business for taking the time to not only address the concerns, but make that person happy and do them right.
That's absolutely right. And I honestly don't even stop at the person, the potential client or customer looking at it and making that decision either. Believe it or not, that's exactly what Google and AI and all those guys are doing too. That is the that is how they're seeing it now. You know, these interactions, and I guess what we're kind of getting at, guys, is you know, just be honest, do what you need to do, and start. And we'll talk a bit about how not, you know, or don't focus. I'm sorry, don't focus on gaming the system. That never works. Just be honest. Just
Yeah. And that leads to the other piece with reviews. I've seen a lot of companies where they come up to me and say, "Hey, well, I can get 500 reviews in a day." Please don't do that. The reason why you do reviews is to leave a legitimate review for service rendered. That's why. Don't leave a review saying, "You know what? I like these people. They're great." Or the one that really drives me insane is whenever people have an issue with someone's politics or whatever it is, and they go after the business and they leave reviews that are negative, which they've never rendered service to, sabotaging reviews. And that happens quite a bit too, guys. That
sure,
happens
it's
quite a
review
bit.
bombing. Yeah,
So what, say that again, Joe? What's it called?
it's review bombing.
Reviewing bombing. And
Yeah.
that's why it's important for you to have an agency to help you with that, because they have tools to be able to help remove that. So review bombing is a thing, Joe. It's
It's a thing.
terrible. It's a terrible thing, but it's happening, and people need to know about that. I guess that goes into the whole presence compounds over time, right? Right, Joe? Isn't that?
Well, it does because
Yep.
because if you're consistently doing something that opposes the viewpoint of the people who are bombing you, it won't win, basically. And
Right.
that I view review bombing as a really just a social thing that happens, and it's a social and it's organic. Uh, so you need to be aware that it could always happen, but only will happen if, and it will only really destroy you if you haven't put in the work, right? And here's the thing. Let's talk about that, but something a little more besides just the technicality of it, right?
Right.
Look, there's a lot of people out there who feel invisible. They feel like they're doing everything right that they possibly can. It makes them question their own business, even though they're doing fantastic work, and they do good work. And it's something that you feel. I mean, honestly, it's got to be freaking exhausting, just being really good at something. It feels like no one notices it, and I understand that feeling all too well from my previous work that I've done. And I think that's going to resonate a whole lot with people when they really stop and think about just how difficult it really is, and burning out because of it. I know that we also have had our own issues with trying to figure out exactly how we should do things for ourselves too. Because again, guys, this is what's crazy. This changes all the time. Google changes the algorithms. Bing does. Everybody changes how they do things all the time. So even your agencies will have to catch up and understand what is happening.
Correct.
Just keep that in mind. If we have to do it, and we're the professionals,
we're in the trenches.
We can't hope. We don't expect you guys to be able to do it, because again, it's difficult and it's overly complicated. You have to spend a ton of time doing your research and figuring out the new stuff. And we're not saying that and I'm definitely not saying that you can't do that. I mean, if you want to dedicate your time for that, then please do, because we want you to know what it is that you need to know. But you also have a business to run.
I have to read this to you. You talked about algorithms.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times the algorithm changes per year with Google?
I thought it was like 4 or 5.
500 to 600 times per year, Joe.
Well, that would explain why it seems so chaotic sometimes.
Under the core updates, core updates are several times a year. But it says, how often does Google update their algorithm? 500 to 600 times per year.
And it's
Now,
really the core updates that really cause the biggest waves.
right,
Yeah.
and it says Google updates 2 to 3 times daily. So I guess to put it this way, regardless if it's 500 or 600, depending on what it is, or the core, the bottom line is it's constantly changing. And I think people are like, well, why do they do that? It's all about the customer experience. And I think this is where a lot of people, I was teaching a class for artificial intelligence, and we were talking about um, the use of ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude. And one of the questions that came up to me is how can I trust ChatGPT or Claude or so forth? Well, I said, let's take it back for a second, and everything you take with a grain of salt. I said, but where is the data coming from? Well, these ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, these large language models are crawling and searching the web too. They're pulling data directly from what's public, right? Right. What do we know about? And I'll use Google as an example. We're an agency, and the one thing that we try to do is help customers be found online. So let's talk about your Google business profile. What is the number one issue that we run into with Google business profile? Verification. So for those of you that don't know, is whenever you establish a business, you put in your address, you have to verify and you have to prove that you are a legitimate business.
Every time.
Why is that important? Because Google wants to make sure that if they put you on the map, whenever you type in, for example, coffee shops near me, and they put a coffee shop on the map, they want to make sure that it's a legitimate coffee shop. Why is it important? It's important because you, as the end user that's using Google search engine to look up coffee shops, they want to make sure that the user experience is top notch. Because I'll give you an example. If you type in coffee shops near me and you see the coffee shop, this actually happened to us before. You plan to go to the coffee shop. It says opened at this particular time. And you go there for your meeting and you look, everything is closed. Lights are turned off. Shop has been closed. And it wasn't updated on the Google business profile. That was a terrible user experience, right? Because it wasn't valid data. It impacted that user. So Google wants to make sure that the user experience, those people that are using these search engines, have a legitimate, good experience, which goes back to saying that ChatGPT and the other search engines, the other tools, are wanting to make sure that the information that's coming through has credibility, there's trust, and it's going to be a good user experience. So that's where I'm getting at, which is about that. Hopefully it kind of helps.
No, it does. No, it's fantastic. I think that is really leads into the next statement that I think we should probably make, and that is, without really getting too tactical on this, I know we've talked about a lot of things, guys. Let's do some let's round this up with some very simple things we want to encourage you guys to do. That is, ask these questions to yourself. Is my business easy to trust online? Do I look active? Do I look consistent? And that can mean in messaging, that can mean in tone, that can mean in a lot of ways. Just ask yourself that. Then, do I look established? Those are some of the main things you should be asking yourselves all the time. And as a business owner, this is not what you should be asking yourself. Am I posting enough? And am I gaming the algorithm? Do not be doing that.
Could I add to that? Because something happened last night on social media that I want to share with you. So I'm in a couple of different communities, Joe. Okay. And in my community, there's a Facebook group that people go around and they like to see how establishments are doing. So there's a restaurant. I'm not going to give the name because I don't want to mention who the name is, but there is an established restaurant, well known. We'll just say it's got a buffet in it. Okay. So those of you that go to buffets, there's this place we're gonna go to get a buffet. And there was a picture and it says Merry Christmas still outside of the establishment. This is a legitimate establishment. It's still there, still going. And the comments came in saying, are these people still in business? Okay. Someone wrote, they are in business. Matter of fact, there's an open sign and there's people in there. Someone else wrote, if management doesn't, we're in February, right? If management's not willing to go out and remove the Christmas sign, what are they doing in the kitchen?
Exactly.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
That right there, my friend, tells you enough. So yes, what Joe just said. Can you find them online? Are you active? Active. Well, they don't look like they're active. Are you being consistent? Do you look established? You know, I can't tell you. It took one post on social media for 500 comments to come out, totally discrediting that. I mean, think about that for a second.
But it's just funny how like the one simple thing had to ended up with a conversation with a bunch of people online. They're just like having to argue for or against something when if they had just done the one simple thing,
Right.
never would have been a point of contention.
Well, it goes back to another post. So once again, the power of social media.
Yeah.
Another post shows a major grocery chain. Won't give the name, okay? And it was in a very affluent area, Joe. Okay, so if you're in the Houston area, you know some affluent areas. Picture of where the milk is, and there was a giant rat. They took a picture of the giant rat near the milk.
Mm-hmm.
Posted it online, and of course, you know these are warehouses of case, and you know these exist, but there needs to be some sort of extermination. But it's what happens with digital presence. It can be both positive and negative, and you have to be able to combat that. So
you have to,
and
yeah, and I think that's really what this all boils down to, guys. Is like you notice how all these people are online, and they're all asking these questions.
Yeah,
who are they not asking? You, the business owner, right? They're not asking you. They're not banging down your door and asking questions you can quickly answer, because this is the crux of the issue here. In today's world, your digital presence is how your business introduces itself and how it talks about itself when you're not in the room.
You hit it right on the nail. And I think it's very important for people to understand that by having digital presence, by having you staking your claim online, it's going to help you regardless of the future in terms of marketing or so forth. But you need to have that protection. You need to be able to have a voice and tell that story. So it's a very interesting time.
Certainly not going to hurt. That's for sure.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And I think, you know, now one of the biggest things, and I'll leave you this, Joe, is when people talk, well, how much should I be spending? How much should I allocate towards this? And I'll share this with you. The more the merrier, but it needs to be strategic. And there's a pathway, and you grow your budget and you grow your marketing based on the return on your investment, based on the outcomes, based on your pillars and meeting those specific targets. If you don't have a solid foundation, if you don't have a website, and if you don't have a way of being able to track that data, and you cannot demonstrate the ROI, you cannot demonstrate you spent $500 on paid advertising, and you can't show that out of the $500, you had this much traffic from it, and it converted into this much amount of. Are you still there, Joe? Or are you frozen? Okay, I thought you were frozen. $500 with a budget. You had this many impressions, this many clicks. It converted to this much dollar in business. If you're not doing that, you're wasting your money, time and time again.
I'll give a. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to give a dollar amount that people should be considering. Okay,
$1.
Because there's more, but what's important to remember, guys, is it's about a budget. All right, you need to budget this as if you were trying to make this one of your utilities, be it a place where you know, be it a what's what I'm looking for, whether it's a brick and mortar location that you have, whether it's paying a utility bill for your home office at home, whatever it is that you got to do, right? Think of it that way. And I would say that on average, if you want to really make a big difference for your business, you should be looking at budgeting about $3,000 a month. You know, it doesn't have to be that exact dollar amount. It could be more, it can be a little less, but every industry requires almost the same effort in digital in this digital presence stuff. So it's actually really much easier to nail down close to what you might need to spend a month than if I were to tell you about ads. Like ads are going to be very chaotic, right? I'll give a great example because these are not ads, right? We're not talking about ads here. But if I were, I would look at you and be like, "You're going to need to figure that out too." Because I mean, honestly, I'm going to help you, but with digital presence, I could say $3,000 a month easy. But if it's ads, I'm going to look at an HVAC person. I'm going to be like, "You're going to need at least, $500 a month on Facebook."
And I think it's
and spread out. Or hey, if you're an ER, or some sort of a urgent care facility, you're going to need $10,000 a month. It's wildly different.
I also want to mention though, with these dollar amounts, of course, it varies per industry. It varies depending on your campaign. Joe, I don't know if you mentioned, I don't think you did, but I know you gave a dollar amount. But can you look at that in terms of licenses versus paid ads? So tools. I mean,
what do you mean?
In terms of the budget, when you're allocating your budget, how much would you spend it specifically for paid ads versus licenses and tools, and having someone help you with that?
Oh, well, no, I would say that your ads are going to be something that you do when you need to do them. So, but put it this way: if it's like a push and pull, because let's be again very clear, it's you have ads and then you have digital presence. They are not the same thing, right? So at first, you're going to be spending more money. I'll put it this way: when you're starting out fresh, digital presence takes time to build, right? You have to build content, you have to make content, you have to do all the different things that are necessary, such as the location citations and blah, 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 blah. I'm obviously not going into too much detail, but I'm giving an idea that there's a huge amount of things you got to do for digital presence, right?
Right.
So, with that in mind, it takes time to build that. Right. Otherwise, it doesn't last, right? So, you're going to spend more money on ads if you're trying to be noticed than you are on digital presence at first. Okay. But then eventually the digital presence is going to be building to where you're not going to need to spend as much money on ads. So it's going to go down. This is if you want consistent, everybody's seeing you things, guys. All right. I'm not saying that you have to do it this way. Okay. But if you need to be seen like all the time, this is how you do it. Okay. So you start with a bigger budget for ads, and then you have a smaller budget for digital presence. Then eventually it's gonna flip over time. You're gonna have more budget for digital presence than you are for your ads. But here's the beautiful part of it: you won't be spending as much money. That is where you want to get. So you will over time spend less money on what you might consider to be digital marketing or advertising, because you have built your digital presence. So yes, that means you will have hundreds of videos and massive amounts of pictures and hundreds of freaking reviews and blah, blah, blah. But you'll have all of that. And guess what? That stuff, if done correctly, lasts very long time. Such a long time. But guess what happens with your ad budget when it dries up? Guess what happens to your ads? Disappear, along with any sort of pull it had, So that's why we're so adamant about it. And I guess since we're coming down to the 45-minute mark, we should probably wrap up. But I want to say this last little thing. Being good, it still matters. Massively so. It just needs support now.
I I mean, that's a great way to really end the segment. I mean, you do what's right. I think, um, once again, I had a prospect reach out to me, and of course, normally what we deal with is a lot of infrastructure challenges. So email goes down, website goes down, the heart of the online digital presence goes down. People start panicking, which makes complete sense because it's their lifeline. Um, and what I normally tend to do is try to help them solve their panic, their issue, and we'll get to that. Um, Customer calls and says, "Hey, I really really don't know what to do. I don't know if I, whatever else." Anyways, managed to do it within 10 minutes. Okay, didn't charge the customer at all. Didn't charge him at all. And doing what's right, doing what's right. And I think what's important is we forget that sometimes let's try to help each other. Not everything has to be transactional. Not everything has to be that way. It doesn't. It always comes to you. It'll come to you one way or the other. I think just by doing what's right, you know, is also important too. So being good
Very
still
well.
matters. It does.
It
You get
does.
rewarded to it, and if you don't, person that will come back to him. Karma's a bitch.
That that is absolutely true. Karma's a bitch. And with that on stage, guys, let's remember this. You can definitely check us out a little more if you want to connect with us. I put the QR code up at the top. And obviously, if you feel free to go to our website, wearetaf.com, and come check us out as well. Like and subscribe, of course, as usual, doing all the wonderful internet things that we have to do. If you feel free to do so, if you want to hear us and talk to us again, or feel free to also participate. I know people watching now, I really appreciate you guys coming by. If you'll ever have any comments, feel free to throw them in there. We'll probably hopefully see them, unless you're commenting on Odyssey, which we probably won't. But hey, Richard, how's it going? Hope things are fantastic for you, man. But that being said, we'll catch y'all next time. Have a wonderful rest of the day, guys, and we'll see y'all in a couple of weeks. Take care.